Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, 5 Things Not to Do to Keep Talented ISAs on the Team with MAPS coach Anna Krueger. Please note this webinar is being recorded and you will automatically receive the webinar recording. If you have questions for your coach, please type them in the questions box located in your webinar control panel. Following the webinar, if you have any questions about today's call or coaching programs, please email us at maps@kw.com. That's all from me. Anna, take it away.
All right. Hey, everybody. Well, I'm excited to be here with you today talking about what not to do to keep talented ISAs on your team. So I'm curious, how many of you are in the Facebook group called, ISA Mastermind Group? If you were, a lot of the content is actually coming from you today, because I would say about a week ago, I did a Facebook Live and said, hey guys, what should people never do if they want to keep talented ISAs around? And we have about 4,500 people in that group, and it generated some awesome discussions. So I'm going to bring to you today my opinions as an ISA of what we should never do to keep talented ISAs on board. But I'm also going to share with you what I heard from the ISAs in that group. So it's my perspective as well as the people in the group. Now I will tell you, some of you we may not have met before. I know it helps when you're on a webinar to know who is this person and why am I listening to them. So to share a little bit of my background and then we'll jump in. I have been an ISA since 2006, so a really long time. I was an ISA in a different industry and managed ISAs in a different industry. And then in 2013, I made the jump into real estate as an inside sales agent for a large team here in Greenville, South Carolina. And then in 2015, started coaching and training ISAs full time. So on one of my bored days in quarantine, I added up all the hours and was kind of shocked to realize I have a total of 26,000 hours of ISA experience, which I didn't even realize till I did that. So definitely know a lot on the topic, and I have failed a lot. And that's what you're going to hear a lot of today, of what are things that I learned either from being on a team, not doing it correctly, or being the leader, leading incorrectly. What are things that lead to failure within an ISA department? So as I get ready to jump in, I would love for you to type into the questions box, what would you most like to get out of today's webinar? Keep it focused towards what we should or shouldn't do, since that's the topic. And if there's time, I'll address things that aren't related to that. But let's keep it focused on what leads to success or failure. Also, if you have something you'd like to share, so maybe you say, I'm on a team and I love it, and here's what they do that makes me love it so much, please go ahead and share that as well. So let's jump in. You're going to see my face today. I don't have a slide deck for you, so write these down to make sure you have them. And the first thing that I'm going to say to not do, if you want to keep talented ISAs around, is treat the role as if it's entry level. So how many of you in here are the actual ISA? In fact, how about all of you just type in what your position is? So maybe you're an agent, maybe you are admin running the operations, maybe you are the ISA. I would love to know what your position is. So it looks like a lot of you are actually agents or ISA. Okay, and all of you are welcome. So some of you are saying, am I in the right place? So yeah, if you want to know more about ISAs in the agent interaction, this is the right place. See, we have some team leaders in here. Awesome. Okay. So this will help all of you, because part of what can cause us to lose a talented ISA is actually some of that agent ISA interaction. So we'll talk through some of that in just a second. But let's go back to point number one. The number one thing that you should not do if you want to keep a talented ISA around, number one, is treat the role as if it's entry level. So how many of you have maybe started an ISA department, or you've heard of this happening, where you start as an ISA on the team and then you graduate into becoming a buyer agent or a listing agent? And I think what a lot of teams are attempting to do, I think the intent there is we want people that are going to be buyer agent or listing agents to get into the habit of lead generation and build those skills. So we tell them, hey, you're going to start off as an ISA, and then you're going to graduate or promote into buyer agent or listing agent. But what that does, and let me ask you guys, if you here's a position you're going to start in, and then you're going to promote or graduate out of it, what does that do to the perception of that ISA role? What's that perception? Yeah, And you can put that into the questions box. But yeah, it makes it sound like, gosh, that's a role to get out of, right? So some of you have asked, what am I looking for when I hire an ISA? Well, you're looking for a results-oriented person who is a go-getter. Well, if you hire a results-oriented person that is a go-getter, they're likely not going to want to stay in a position on the team that is talked about as if it's the entry-level position. So what we found to fix that is to tell people you start off as an agent in training. So I think where it comes from is people say, you start off and you have 90 days to kind of get your feet under you, build the skill, and then you're really like game on. So what you can do instead is say, we start off as agents in training. Then after your 90 days, you become a buyer agent, a listing agent, or an inside sales agent. And that way it levels the playing field. So we definitely do not want to talk about the role as if it's entry level. I was on a team once where, and I say this in love, but one time I heard the agents talking about how the agent role was more respectable than the ISA role. Well, I'll be honest, guys, as an ISA, that was really hurtful because part of what I was working towards was to help the agents achieve their goals. And so I'm hearing the people I'm working for and I care about their goals, and I hear them telling me, well, our job's more respectable. So I asked them, where did that come from? Like, what gave you that impression? Because I don't believe it's true. So what gave that impression? And they said, well, we start off as ISAs and then we become agents. So that's where that came from. It was from a failure. So we realized we're creating the environment that the ISA role is a role you want to get out of because of how we're talking about it. So that's number one, is don't talk about the role as if it's entry level. We know from reading The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, I have it right here, Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. Gary talks about in the lead generation chapter about how important the lead generation role is. And lead generation, when we don't have a talented person in that role, the rest of the business fails, right? So whether you're an agent listening to this, whether you're the ISA listening to this, the activity of lead generation is the lifeblood of the business. Every role is important, yet can we all agree if we don't have leads, we don't need transaction managers. We don't need listing coordinators because we don't have any transactions to manage, right? So ISA role, you want to make sure you talk about it for the role that it is, and it's really a career path. It's not a stopping point. So let me see if I have any questions there real quick. Okay, perfect. I don't see any questions on that one. What I will say, and I am totally going to name drop because of who it was, but I have been on masterminds today with Gary Keller, and we were talking about ISAs for probably about 2 hours today, which I thought was awesome. The ISA role is really gaining a lot of speed, and people are starting to realize what it can do for their business. And he definitely agreed with this concept that the ISA role, that's your lead generation, lead cultivating role, it is likely going to be filled by someone who thinks and acts a lot like the business owner. So it's really a rainmaking role, right? It's a role that goes out, it finds business. We're hustling, right? We're working hard to find people to convert into buyers and sellers. So whoever's in that position and doing a good job of it probably thinks a lot like the primary rainmaker or the person who started the team. So I see some questions coming in about who are we looking for, or what's the, what are the qualities of an ISA? And so it's probably someone that thinks and acts a lot like you. If you are the lead agent, it's probably someone very much like you. I see some questions coming in that I know we won't have time for today. So let me just say this real quick. We do have a how to hire, train, and retain ISAs class coming up on July 1st. This webinar is going to be about 25 minutes. That program is 5 hours total. It's 1 hour a week for 5 weeks. It starts July 1st, and it's every Wednesday in July. So it's how to hire, train, and retain ISAs. The first hour and a half, so the first class and then the next class, half of that one, is how to hire somebody. And then the entire rest of the 4 weeks is how do you keep them on board? How do you manage expectations? How do you track results? Things like that. So if you have a question I'm not getting to today, just know we have that class coming up for that purpose. It's 5 hours on most of what you guys are asking about. Compensation, all that is covered in the how to hire, train, and retain class. Okay, so let's keep going. What's the second thing? So number one is don't treat it like an entry-level role. Number two is do not forget to give feedback on appointments. So again, the person you're hiring, they're going to be results oriented. They're going to be a go-getter. They're going to be high on intensity, meaning they're aggressive, or assertive would be another way to put it. They're a go-getter. So if you think about it, if they're a go-getter, they're assertive, they want to make it happen, how will that person respond if they are not getting feedback on appointments they set up for you? So let that sink in for a minute, and you can put that into the questions box. Think about yourself. If you're on this webinar, a lot of you said your agent's interested to hire an ISA, and we just said they think a lot like you. So think about yourself. You're probably a results-oriented person. How would it feel to set up appointments all day and then have no idea if they met, if they signed the agreement, are they going to make it to closing? And it's kind of like the appointment front end is getting done and then you have no idea what happens. That is a very common reason why I see ISAs leave. So some of you know, and I'll go ahead and pull it up right now real quick and show you on screen. Don't get distracted by Facebook. I'm about to show you my Facebook. Some of you are in this group, and I just want to make sure that you're aware of what this is. But there's a Facebook group called ISA Mastermind Group. And in this group, I get to talk to about 4,500 ISAs from all around the country in all different brokerages, and I get to hear their perspectives. And the number one thing that I get a private message about from that group is, hey, Anna, I love my team. You know, I like the people there. I actually really like setting appointments, but I'm thinking about leaving my team because I never get feedback on these appointments I'm setting, and I'm getting really frustrated. So know that you might have a really talented person who actually really likes your team, but if there's not a feedback loop on the appointments they're setting for you, that is a surefire way to make sure that they leave your team. That definitely will leave your team. And yeah, Donna typed in, I'm guessing you're an ISA probably, but it can make us not want to set appointments. You want the feedback loop. Now, I will also say, as the ISA, if you're in that position, I was as well, where I wasn't getting feedback. I just had to take ownership, and I started writing down the name of every person I set the appointment for, what agent they were supposed to meet with on which day. And I would just encourage you, if you're on this webinar and you are the ISA and you're thinking, yeah, my team never gives me feedback, take ownership of that, talk to them about it, and tell them how it impacts you. And at the same time, do something to help yourself. So you could start an appointment tracking spreadsheet where you write down the name of everyone you set an appointment with, you know, client name, so that you know which agents to go ask and say, hey, Danielle, did this person show up on Thursday? Did they sign an agreement with you or not? And what happened? Okay. So that's what you can do if you're in that position right now. All right. So let's keep going. So number one, treat it as if it's entry level. Number two, do not give feedback on appointments. That's a quick way to lose a talented ISA. Number three is no congratulations. So what I mean by that, this one's real easy to fix, by the way, is say that you're in a team meeting and the agents or yourself, you're celebrating a closing that you just had. And we want to acknowledge every person on the team, not just the agent, who impacted that happening. So speaking candidly, as an ISA, there would be times that maybe I worked a lead for 6 months, called them, followed up. Maybe we had 13 phone calls in total. We're talking months and hours of follow-up. Set the appointment, they sign with the agent, and they make it to closing. So absolutely, we want to celebrate the agent that got it to closing, because as an ISA, we can't function if we don't have talented agents. But it felt like there was no recognition to the person who set that up, and we knew it represented months and hours of follow-up. So one thing I loved is my team owner, Haro, when I brought this to his attention, whenever we talked about a closing in a meeting, had a win celebration, he would say, great, that is awesome that you had that closing. Where did that closing come from? Who set that appointment for you? Who on the team helped you on the back end as far as transaction management? You know, who was the listing manager? And Haro started doing an excellent job of acknowledging every person that had an impact on that client, not only the agent that actually closed it out. So know that I'm not saying take anything away from the agent. We ISAs love agents. We want you to get out there and do your job. Just know you can lose a talented ISA if we don't acknowledge the work that they're doing. One thing that Haro did that really helped, can you all see this on screen? Type in the box if you can see this. But after I brought this to Haro's attention of, hey, I don't mean to sound funny, but I need some recognition. I'm a results-oriented person. I need some kudos here. And he started this really awesome thing where every month he had a trophy for the operations. So someone in operations got a trophy, buyer agent trophy, listing agent trophy, and inside sales agent trophy. And there might have been others that I'm not thinking of right now. But basically, every department was represented in the form of a trophy. And each month he would acknowledge, which ISA set the most appointments or which listing agent had the most closings. And if you can see on the bottom here, we would have January, February, March, April, and whoever had the most that month would get their initials on the bottom of the trophy, and they got to have this trophy on their desk for the entire month to celebrate what they had done. At the end of the year, whoever had their name on the bottom the most amount of times, which it's me on this one because I was the first ISA. So I pretty much got it every month at first. So that's why I'm on there a whole lot. But they get to take the trophy home and actually keep it. So I thought that was a really great way to start spreading out the cheer of great job. It wasn't focused on one person. It really became more of a team effort, and that was a great way to acknowledge it. Yeah, you guys are typing and you love that idea. Awesome. Okay, let's go over the last two. So we have treat them as entry level. Don't do that. We have don't close feedback loop. You don't want to do that. You want to let them know what happened to appointments. Number 3 was make sure you recognize them. If you don't recognize the work they're doing, that's a good way to lose a talented ISA. Another note that I have here is do not give them 10 scripts all at once, okay? And it's not the specific number 10. It's that idea of a lot of ISAs tell me, I just started on my team and my team owner handed me this huge script book and I am completely overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. And guys, let me just ask you a question, and I want your interaction in the questions box. How many of you growing up in school, maybe you were in a play or in church, maybe you were in a Christmas cantata, something like that. And how many of you had lines to memorize at some point in your life is really the question I'm asking. And I want to ask you, how did you do it? So if you were in a play, how did you take maybe 5 pages of lines? How did you get those into your brain? What was step number 1? And I just want you to type into the box, what was your method? How did you get the script into your brain? And I think some of you will have good takeaways. A common question is, how do we have good scripting sessions? Well, you're about to hear it. Yes, you guys are typing in. We say the same line over and over. Repetition. Several of you typed in, say it over and over, one line at a time. Repetition. Memorize line by line. I love that. Memorize line by line. Chunk it up. All of you are, nobody is saying anything different. All of you are saying we took it basically piece by piece and memorized it. Now, eventually you did the actual play, right? But it's a progression. You start with memorizing a small portion. So maybe the script is an entire page, but you start with just memorizing the first couple lines. You're not even trying to sound great when you do it. You're just trying to memorize the lines, get them into your brain. Once you have the lines memorized into your brain, now you can start delivering it with sounding like, a conversation, right? You can put inflection in your voice. And eventually you get to where you're actually doing the play. You're in full, it's not dress rehearsal anymore. It's the real deal, right? We're in the outfits where the crowd is out there and we're delivering the lines. However, I see a disconnect. So let me ask you, the same people, what usually happens when you get handed a new script in real estate? What have you done in the past? And I'll go ahead and share my experience as you guys type in. Yeah, a lot of you are saying we don't do it the same way. Yeah, this is exactly what I suspected. So you guys said when we did a play, we memorized line by line, piece by piece, and eventually stuck it all together. And it wasn't like we sat down and tried to memorize it all at once. Well, in the chat box, a lot of you, or questions box, I should say, a lot of you are saying, I read the whole entire script, or I immediately start role playing with someone. And it's totally opposite of what you did back in school to memorize your lines. So that's why we say don't give, 10 scripts all at once or even 2 scripts. I recommend give 1 script at a time. So if you want them to do circle calling to get started, give them a circle call script and tell them, do what I just did. Ask them, how did you memorize lines back in elementary school? Okay, let's have you do that here. So chunk it down, memorize paragraph by paragraph by paragraph, and then start putting it all together, and then start your role play. That's a much faster way to get the script into your brain. So a lot of people tell me when I joined my team, I was given all these scripts. I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know where to start, so I'm just kind of winging it. Guys, I hear that all the time. So do yourself a favor, and one thing not to do is give 1,000 scripts. So give them one script at a time. And what I like to say is after you demonstrate that you have mastered this script, and mastered means you're delivering it, you don't have to rely on reading it, and you sound human. You don't sound robotic. You sound like you have a personality as you deliver the script. Then I will give you the next lead source and the next script. That really helps motivate people to hurry up and learn what they need to learn, because a lot of people want additional lead sources. So if you set it up as you get one script at a time, one lead source at a time, once you get that down, I'll release you to the next one. That is a great way to motivate them to learn those scripts. Oh yeah, Erin had a great point. Also physically write it out over and over and over. That's a great point. All right, so what are the 4 things so far? I'm gonna give you your 5th one. What do you have? So we have, don't treat it as entry level. Don't not give feedback on appointments. We also have don't congratulate or give recognition. The 4th one I just gave you was do not give them a whole bunch of scripts all at once. And the last one I want to share with you is don't limit them to one lead source. So I've coached ISAs, gosh, in real estate since 2015. I've really been coaching ISAs since 2008, just in another industry. And what I found is ISAs that stick around for the long term have a variety. So what I mean by that is if I'm working all day to do outbound calls to sellers, and that's all that I ever do, it leads to faster burnout. So I find that the ISAs that have been in the role a long time usually have a variety of lead sources. And as an ISA, I can say, you know, if I'm doing expired calls for 3 hours, it's really refreshing to get an inbound buyer lead. It's just something different. It gives me quick success, and that quick success makes it easier for me to go have more success because I feel good. And so it's a good strategy to give them a multitude of lead sources and not to limit them to just one thing. So to recap it for you, don't treat them as entry level. Don't not give feedback on appointments. Do not, I'm trying to remember it from memory. Oh yeah, don't not give them congratulations. Do not give them a whole bunch of scripts all at once, and do not limit them to one lead source. You avoid those things and you're going to increase your chance of keeping talented ISAs. Now, I will get to the questions box in just a minute. I see quite a few in here. I do want to show you a resource real quick, however. So we're doing this webinar to help you out as much as we can, and it's about 25 minutes. So that's why we have the program, and I'll share it with you right now. If you go to mapscoaching.com, click on this little coaching tab, it drops down. You will see Mastering Inside Sales. That is a program. It actually launched on June 3rd. However, every class is recorded and it is a 6-month program. So we still today have people signing up for Mastering Inside Sales. So you missed the first 3. However, as soon as you're registered, within 24 hours, you'll be given access and you can go watch the webinars that we've already done on demand. It's a great option. So Mastering Inside Sales is for the actual inside sales agent. Then if you come over here, there's how to hire, train, and retain inside sales agents, which I think speaks to the majority of the audience here today. This class starts July 1st, which sounds far away because it's July, right? Guys, that's next Wednesday. It's a week from tomorrow. How is that possible? So 1 week from tomorrow, July 1st, the class How to Hire, Train, and Retain Inside Sales Agents starts. It's a 5-week program. It's every Wednesday in July, and then you've got all the info. And we go over how do you identify talent, how do you hire them, where do you find them. However, the majority of the class is how do you retain them. So I give you trackers. We talk about what kind of expectations should you set. So I saw a lot of questions coming in about how do I compensate someone? Should I have a virtual ISA? Should I have a local ISA? All of that is covered. In fact, I didn't see any questions come in. Let me scan real quick. I didn't see anything come in that did not get covered in the program. So I might not have answered it today, but it should be in the program for you. yeah, it looks like everything that I'm seeing here real quick is addressed in the actual program. So check it out. So again, MAPS Coaching, again, mapscoaching.com, click on coaching, and then you'll see, whoops, and then you'll see Mastering Inside Sales. I don't know why I'm having internet issues. Mastering Inside Sales, and then how to hire, train, and retain ISAs. There you go. All right, so speaking of programs, I actually need to get off here in just a second to go lead an ISA class. Before we do, any final questions, type them in real quick. And if it's a quick answer, I can answer it for you real quick. Are separate ISAs for buyer versus seller leads a good idea? So sometimes it works, but typically I find people get burnt out. So the ISAs that I see that have done this for years and they say, why would I ever want to go do anything else? They work both buyer leads and seller leads. So that's the majority. There might always be an exception where you have just a random person that says, I love buyer only leads. But I find that most of the time ISAs prefer to do both. Oh yeah, you're asking for the link in the chat. So actually what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to put annascoaching.com in the box, send to all. You should have that. Let me show that to you real quick. It takes you to the MAPS programs, but I've had a lot of people say, I get overwhelmed by the MAPS website. Where's the ISA stuff? So if you even just go to annascoaching.com, and it brings you to MAPS programs. But if you go to annascoaching.com, I just put it in the chat box, you'll see the Rainmaker program, and then you will also see ISA program, okay? So Rainmaker starts in about 8 days. The ISA program started on June 3rd. However, everything's recorded and you have access. So again, you can go to mapscoaching.com, or if you just want to see the ISA stuff and filter everything else out, it's annascoaching.com, but it all goes to MAPS. Okay, I think I answered the last few questions that came in. So sign up, guys. It's $199 for that 5-week course for how to hire, train, and retain an ISA. Guys, when you have a talented ISA, it is a game changer in your business. It is well worth $199. You should get ridiculous ROI on that program. And the good news is it's recorded. So if you, for whatever reason, can't make it live, that class is recorded and on demand. And it's available through September. So the class is run July, and then it's available for 60 days after the last class. So you'll have availability August and September to watch the recordings. Check it out. All right, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will talk with you soon. All right, bye, guys.